I've been thinking a lot about templates. I've been making curry practically every week, almost every week, for quite a long time now. And even though I still resort to the recipe because I need to know how much spice I'm going to use and how much onion and how much I need to know the amounts. I don't know the amounts by heart. I already know the steps. I've made this so many times that I already know the steps. So first we stir fry the aromatics, then we add the spices, then we add the tomato, then we let it reduce until practically there's no water in the fat is separating from the tomato sauce already mixed with the aromatics and the spices. Then we add the proteins, and then the thing that is going to cut the spice, which is either coconut milk or cream or yogurt. And then we add the, well, that is together with the protein. And then we add the water to cook the protein. So these are the steps. Now that I know the steps, and I still haven't memorized the amounts because I'm not very good at memorizing things, I'm going to try to use curry as a way to learn the techniques. So I don't know the techniques very well, but I can identify at least three. So the first is to is the aromatics, is the onion and the garlic. They are fried. Yeah, no other way to say it. They are fried in the pan. No, they are not fried. There's a little bit of fat, and then they go in, and first the onion must be stay in there until it loses all of its all of its liquid, all of its water, so that the flavor can concentrate. And then we add the garlic. I never knew which one went first. The garlic goes last because the garlic burns very easily. So right after that, we put on the. So this is the first technique: is to make a. I think it's a rule. I'll put a link below to how to make a sauce, one of the classic sauces in French cuisines. Not because we are making a classic sauce, but because it's part of the technique. And if we learn part of that technique, whenever it is we need to make the onion and the garlic thing, we will know how to do it. So after that, after the onion and the garlic are in there with no water, we add the spices. The spices are dry, and they are heaten up to make their smells come up, their flavors intensify, and their smells come up. But while doing that, or when doing that, they will stuck to the pan we are using. And then we pour in the tomato, which we can consider the deglazing agent to take all the things that got glued to the pan out of the pan and mixed into the sauce. Then it has to reduce, and I believe that technique is simmering. I'm not sure which temperature it's supposed to be because simmering has a certain temperature to be at. I'm not sure if it's simmering or if it's cooking. I don't know. I have to check. I'm still learning. Then after that, we put on the proteins and the thing that is going to cut the spiciness in the mouth. Not the spiciness, the aroma and flavor. Really, the spice, the part that burns the tongue. It needs that balance, so it's not overpowering. And then water to make that protein cook. Now, again, I don't know if it's simmering, if it's cooking. it hasn't been working well with raw protein for me. It has worked well with beans, garbanzo beans, anything that's cooked, it works well. Anything that's raw, it doesn't, including red lentils, which are relatively easy to cook. Either mine were too old, or I really don't know the technique and I've been cooking it too low, or doing something wrong in some way, because the outer part of the lentils were harsh and it was supposed to be mushy and soft and creamy. It didn't work. And I've made it with chicken chicken with bone, and I had to separate the chicken from the bone because I could not get the chicken to reach the temperature where it would be cooked, and it was in the stove for a long time, like almost 1 hour, and it still didn't reach that temperature. So I had to separate the meat from the bone, meaning the technique, it's not simmering, it may be cooking, but in cooking, meaning putting food in a liquid and or boiling in the boiling liquid, maybe at a certain temperature. Well, there are three, for what I remember, there are three temperatures. One is very low, which is simmering. We can hardly see the bubbles. One is boiling normally, if normally can be said. There are a few more bubbles. And the other one, it's like a volcano, like water almost trying to get out of of the the pan. I don't know which temperature it is supposed to be, and that's my mistake, and that's my next thing to learn. So, in curry, or where curry is related. So the meal plan that seems to be just knowing what I'm going to cook and is absolutely not important also guides me into the recipes I do. And when I do them, I try to identify what are the techniques behind. And when I do identify one or more techniques, I go and watch the video related to it, or I try to find some information related to that technique, and I try to apply it while I'm cooking that recipe, so that even though it's not the full recipe, I at least master one bit of the technique that it includes. And after, my hope is after doing this for a while, I will be able to master several techniques, and that will allow me to cook different kind of dishes, some of which I don't dare to cook yet because I know I would not be able to do them well. And at the same time, by repeating the same sort of recipes, I'm not eating curry exactly the same. I changed the spice mix. I have four different curry spice mixes. I changed the proteins, sometimes meat, sometimes beans, sometimes fish, sometimes one kind of fish, sometimes other kind of fish, sometimes one kind of beans, sometimes other kind of beans. Sometimes I add pineapple, it's delicious with coconut milk. Sometimes I don't. So even though the recipe is made exactly the same way, since I can change the things that provide a different flavor, it feels like I'm eating something else. But I am compounding on the knowledge, on the learning I'm having on that recipe alone. So eventually, I will know the amounts, and I will know how much whether or not the sauce with tomatoes should be simmered or boiled, and the same about the proteins. And I will be able to make that sort of dish, meaning I will be able to make a curry regardless of the ingredients I use without needing a recipe and applying the techniques well. Once I do that for the curry, it's not one after the other. At the same time, there are other dishes that I do with a certain regularity, and for each, I am trying to learn every step and every technique as well, so that I can get to that point of knowing how to make a certain dish without needing the recipe. Not all dishes are like this, for what I've understood so far. Maybe they are, and I haven't understood the pattern. But for now, I could only take it from curry. Nonetheless, every dish needs one or two or more techniques, and whenever they are required, I try to apply the right one, revise the right one, and apply it. But let's say I have 3 or 4 dishes to make this week, and they all need at the beginning to sort of stir fry the onions and the garlic. I'm not going to revise the technique 3 or 4 times. I'm going to revise it one, and I'm going to practice it 3 or 4 times. Although I think I'm starting to do it right. So meal planning looks very far away from the act of cooking, and it is if we don't connect it. But if we do, it's sort of a learning guide. So I'm going to have these proteins with these dishes or with these recipes to be eaten with these veggies and carbs. And in order to make these recipes, I need to apply these techniques. So, what are the techniques and how do I do them right? In an effortless way, instead of let me learn all the techniques and get my head full, which was what happened. The first time I saw them, I was glad, like, oh, there's a way to do this. But then I noticed how many there were and how many nuances there were to each, that I was almost giving up. And then I decided, well, let's just do it slowly. I wasn't doing anything at the beginning. So if I learn one at a time, I'll be learning a lot more than I knew before. And by meal planning, I happen to practice quite a few, not all of them, but quite a few without pressure of learning them. I'm just following recipes that I already know that I can do and improving the way I do them by applying the technique right. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I'll be posting one video about meal planning. I wouldn't say per week. My life has changed a little bit. Maybe I'll do one every 2 weeks, and it might sound boring and unnecessary, but it is important for this to take out the information we can regarding the recipes and the techniques. The more a recipe is repeated, the more I practice making one same or one sort of recipe, the more I'll practice the techniques associated with it, the better I will get at those techniques, and hopefully the better I'll get at doing that recipe, and the sooner I'll be doing it without needing a recipe. I won't need to necessarily memorize it. It's not that I won't memorize it. I will memorize it, but I will not try to memorize it. I'll just do it enough times to eventually know. It will be part of my knowledge, not an effort to know, but a part of my knowledge. I hope my brain will think, I mean, this girl does this all the time. I better store this information so she doesn't have to put so much effort to try to know how much it is to do this.